What is up, YouTube? I am Shack Central, and this is the Uniquely Hardcore Challenge. In this series, I am attempting to collect every unique item in Path of Exile, not just in the solo self-found game mode, but in hardcore as well. It's going to be a long grind, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So sit back and join me for today's unique experience. I think this is the closest I've ever seen. Well, first of all, both a Legion, a Nico mission, and the Ritual. The Legion was right here. But also, we got two of the unique hordes, or chests, one chest and one horde right here. And, oh, there we go. You got a unique out of the non-unique horde as well. So far, I'm 2 for 2 on ones I already have. Okay. Alright, we might have all those. I'm not sure. There might be one new one, but yeah. Pretty cool to have all those right in a row. Okay, so I decided to do one last map for the day. Finally got the Elementalist to maps, leveled her up, went into Defiled Cathedral, fought the boss, the Maven showed up, and then this happened? So it's one, I don't even know, like, this is so far from anything that will ever be completed in hardcore SSF. Just super random drop from a mob. That didn't even make sense because the area has like monster variety, so it's one of those things with the tails that pops out of the little ground in calm zones. And yeah, so 7 years bed luck. So just 13 more of these and we have one mirror shard. Or 12 more of these and we have one mirror shard. I can count. So yeah, that's the next grind after all the uniques. After finding that piece of a mirror shard div card, I'm all pumped up. But before I go to bed, one last little unique roundup for the day. We were now over 150, so I figured I'd take the last few maps worth of uniques and we'll take a look at them. So Sinvicta's Metal is like a higher level two-handed axe, got a lot of fizz damage, some attack speed, but it's a rampage weapon, so you get increased AoE per 25 rampage and a frenzy charge every 50th rampage. Pretty cool. Hot-headed, I had to defer this like probably 15 times. I don't know why it was so expensive, but it gives you a bunch of benefits. Basically gives you onslaught while you're ignited. That's basically what it is. It's an onslaught effect while ignited. Lori's Lantern has a lot of all resistances. When you're on low life, it gives you a bunch of benefits. Skipping these three for now. Storm Prison gives you fizz damage. It also adds lightning damage. And it has a lot more mana regen rate, and you basically get, its thing is power charge. You get a chance to gain a power charge on kill, and you have +1 to maximum. So dual wielding these means half your kills are getting power charges, and you'll have at base 5. Lakishu's Blade is another one of those one-handed weapons. It's essentially a 4-link. Its socketed gems are supported by level 1 multi-strike. Has a bunch of fizz damage, but its main thing is the socketed gems get multi-strike. Relentless Fury is a mid-tier, mid-level one-handed axe. Bunch of fizz damage. It has Culling Strike, and then when you do cull, you gain Onslaught, and that also prevents you from being chilled. Very it builds on itself with the effects. And then finally, Curtain's Call. It's a lower level item with barely any evasion or energy shield. It gives you reduced mine throwing speed, but the mines have detonation speed, and if you have a bunch of dexterity and intelligence, you can throw up to 2 additional mines every single time. A lot of downside, a lot of upside. And then these three are ones you already had: Dweedre's Tenure, Joffrey's Crest, and the Blackheart. But all three of these, I needed a second copy because they all have a faded upgrade, so I've now got those copies as well. Alright, I'm actually legitimately scared because this is a big test for my level 72 Arc Witch, but this is the Maven invitation for Lex Proxima, so I got the bosses of Underground Sea, Crater, and Defiled Cathedral. Let's try it. That was almost the end right there. Oh my gosh, did we do it? Oh yeah! What a boss. What an absolute unit of a build. Just a real quick note about the build. I found an Ungil's Harmony in the last map, which is actually something that I really wanted to use on this build. It's a recommended item for early mapping from Enki himself, and you can kind of see why. It gives us huge crit chance, gives us life, gives us mana, gives us a lot of what we need, gives us some dexterity. So it's a very, very good early unique, and I was able to make it work by replacing a couple of these resists from the bench craft with just higher crafted resist tiers, and I just barely capped on lightning res now, so we're capped on all three, and Ungils is in the mix. So even our arc itself, which is not really built with a lot of crit, but the arc is now up to about 20% crit chance. So 1 out of every 5 casts we are critting, which helps us keep up elemental overload basically indefinitely, because we cast a lot more than 5 times in the span of the 8 seconds that EO is up. So really good sustain on our elemental overload now. All right, so if you're not super familiar with the way that the faded items work, I have an example. So I just spammed a bunch of prophecies from Navali, filled up my prophecy board, and got the flow of energy, which says you will defeat Chevron while holding Chevron's pace. I happen to have Chevron's pace, and so I'm trying to think. I believe the fast... nope, I went the wrong spot. Fastest way to get to Chevron, I believe I can just... I think highest odds are that she's over here. But I believe I should be able to just find her, and it's Malagaro. Should just be able to find her right there. So I believe since it says holding Chev's pace, we can have it in our inventory like that. Some of them also say you have to wear it, like the Screaming Eagle upgrade to the Griffin we had to actually wear. This one, boom. And there we go, Chevron's Gambit. It's that easy. So some of them you'll have to adjust your stuff, and they may be harder if it's something you have to defeat. If it's an enemy that you have to defeat while wearing something, it may be a little tougher if it's an actually tougher enemy, but that is, I mean, even if we had to put on the boots, it's kind of just, it's an Act 4 boss, so there you go. Chevron's Pace replaced with Chevron's Gambit. Well, that was fun. Well, that's the Elementalist. This is my first time in the brand new Forking River map, and I got smacked by this Beyond boss at the same time as I got one of those. It's a twinned map, and I got 2 of those water droplets smacked on me. Well, the Beyond boss smacked me in the face, and I went hit dead. So that was super fun. And on to the next character. What did I lose here? We lost an Ungil's Harmony. I believe that was the only unique I had on me. But yeah, that's an Ungil's Harmony down, unfortunately, along with several maps. But yeah, not great. I'm having to refresh my memory on where we're at. Okay, so we got to talk to Lily. If you're trying to do a super speedrun thing, if you wait to talk to her for a little bit, for like a couple zones, I think it's after you get through the mud flats, you can wait and she'll actually appear up here where she normally goes, and then you can talk to her without having to walk all the way down, but it's whatever. Okay, so this quest, if you're not super familiar, this quest is a great one to do. If you need, if any of your jewelry at all is bad, like at all, do that quest. Because you get this. So it has an open prefix. We could craft damage over time. I mean, it's got a high strength requirement, so probably not, but it's a thing. Boy, that's high life. All right, got excited for a sec. Let's do this. What an easy game. What an easy game. I mean, what is there? I mean, it's an easy game. I mean, come on. To be honest, I probably should have done that many, like, hours ago. Oh, I should have evolved this one first. Dang it. Wasted my luck. New beast. Okay. I've never had a parasite beast before. I guess they would be kind of difficult, right? Wait. It kind of makes sense. Can you only get parasite beasts in this zone? Because in every other zone they would hop off. This has got to be one of the only zones you can even get that, because in other zones they would hop off the back of someone, which means they'd never naturally be one of the beasts. Now, the more I think about that, the kind of cooler it is. Because like that row, there's other targets in the zone too for the monster type. Where the heck? Apparently row is either. What? What? Like I said, don't go into this fight with an underleveled cold snap, like I did. Don't do that. That's where I'm at right now. New items made Vlad OPAF. Yes, that's good because like for real, I haven't played Vlad in like 2 years. I haven't played League in. Wow, how about I walk right along it? Okay, that's just skill right there. That's what a peak Path of Exile player looks like, if you were wondering. There you go. This is more what it should look like. Yep. Okay, so we skipped the first phase, went right to eating silk. If you've never noticed, one of my favorite like boss fights, because she comes up wearing his head right there. His head is literally being worn by her now. No! Whoa, 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 whoa! That lag is not okay. That could have very easily killed me if she'd been aiming that little discharge at my face instead of the other way. Nope. Okay. Why don't I just get hit by all of it? Okay. Don't play PoE like me. Just don't play like me. Okay, I got so excited for this. I had to turn Streamlabs on just to record this. This is insane. So I've been having an absolute blast leveling as melee. This is one of the first melee characters I played in the last few years. I almost never play melee. Been playing Earthshatter, been having a ton of fun. It is blasting through everything. And I just went in the ossuary to try to farm up a few item bases and got offered Soul Tether in the favor window. So I'm going to defer this for a little bit. And we could be starting out with this character having a Soul Tether ready to go like very early on. So that is kind of insane. I'm just going to keep deferring this until I can get it. Nothing. Actual trash. Wow, like literally actual trash. We got another one. Okay. All right. It's officially time to get hyped. This is incredible. So we're a week into the hardcore challenge. We've already got 2 of the lab uniques. This is a big deal. There are not that many here. Let's it's my melee build. Hey, check this out. There's a reason I put all these tags here. So we can go Labyrinth, clear these all for now. Labyrinth. Well, that needs to be changed. What is Labyrinth? Ugh. What a terrible database. Okay. Now let's clear it all and just do Labyrinth and make sure. Okay. So check it out. There's this many that drop in lab. Or the jewels. So we've already found 2 of them now. That's sick. That's good progress. Because they are not common. So very excited about that. It is time for another unique roundup. I've just kind of put them all in here. I've got them in the list already, so you can see we are up to 173. So pretty exciting. Let's just note these 3. So the Fencoil, the Blackheart, and the Iraku Tiki. We already have 1, but all 3 of these require at least 2 copies for faded upgrades. So now we have like the quote-unquote base item for the recipe, but the other part of the recipe is just getting from Navali eventually the prophecy to upgrade these, so we have those. All right, we're just going to work bottom up this time. So Southbound is some gloves. They add a bunch of cold damage to our attacks. They add cold res. They add freeze duration and Herald of Ice damage. The downside being your hits can only kill frozen enemies. So you stack up as much cold damage as possible and you get big bonuses to it. Sedima's Touch is one of the quintessential quantity items. So this is used by magic gear finders. Magic find players. That's what I meant to say. Things like the old tornado shot builds and all that would use Sedima's Touch, so it's a low level item, but because it has that quantity, it's a very popular item for Magic Find. For other weapons, we've got Iron Commander. This is the dexterity stacking bow that gives you a bunch of totems. There have been some really cool meme builds as well as some actually pretty powerful builds built around it. The Chober Chaber, this is another one we're going to eventually need 2 of for a Fated upgrade, but it gives +1 to socketed melee gems, +1 to socketed minion gems. Has a bunch of damage all on its own, and then minions have a bunch of life, and it has skill effect duration. So it has a lot going on with it, but at its baseline, it's a pretty crunchy two-hander, regardless of whether you're using it for minions or not. Balefire is one of the Hall of Grandmasters kind of clearing items. It grants a level 25 Scorching Ray. You recover life and mana on kill. It gives more of the Scorching Ray beam length, kind of a unique property there. It's a pretty cool weapon, and this is used by a lot of people to clear Hall of Grandmasters. At least it was the last time that I cleared Hall of Grandmasters. It's pretty cool. Eye of Chayula is cool. It's our only amulet we've gotten so far, but it is the base of what will eventually become our Presence of Chayula, our low-life amulet. So if we get a couple of these, we can start running some low-life characters, but getting the initial eye is pretty cool. It's a world drop. It drops from anywhere, and then we'll need a Blessing of Chayula to upgrade it. Speaking of upgrades, Chevron's Gambit, I actually took Chevron's Pace out. I only found the one Pace so far, but since I found the Prophecy, it's a lot harder to get the faded versions than it is the base items typically, so I went ahead and upgraded Chevron's Pace, took it out of the unique tracker, and added in Chevron's Gambit. So this is, by the way, I forgot to mention this on Eye of Chayula, it gives you reduced life, but increased rarity, and you cannot be stunned. That's it. So the Gambit is an ES base. It wants you to be on full life. You get a bunch of movement speed when you are on full life, and it also regens your energy shield every second. It's pretty cool. Malagaro's Lens is a super memey, weird, very strange item. One of the stranger uniques, in my opinion. Little shout out to Grimro there for his quote. But it gives -50 to all elemental resistances. You get a bunch of AoE, but your nearby allies recover 1% of your max life when you die. So, yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. The Chalice of Horrors is a shield with a movement speed implicit, which is kind of strange. Gives you +1 to your socketed curse gems. It's a curse-based shield just overall. It does give you increased chance to block. You also have a chance to cause monsters to flee on block. It's kind of like a horror-themed shield. It's kind of gnarly looking. It's literally actually a Chalice of Horrors. The whole mouth coming out of the mouth of the goblet and everything. And then your curse skills have a longer duration. We'll come back to the jewels because obviously we got a lot of those. The Infernal Mantle is a fire damage to chaos robe. It's strange. It's pretty cool. Gives +1 to fire gems. It also gives you increased fire damage, but then it also converts part of that fire damage to chaos. It also wants you to stay away from low mana because you take more damage when you are on low mana, so keep that mana up. The other body armor we got is something I'm very excited about. This I just got a little while ago on stream. This is Viper Scales. This is one of the lab-specific uniques that can only drop in labs. So that's another very exciting drop to get this early. We've already gotten 2 lab uniques out of the way within the first 200 uniques, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's another low-level one. It's increased movement speed. You have a chance to poison. You cannot be poisoned in return, and it gives you a little bit of cold rest. So not a high-powered item, but a rare one that I'm happy to have. We got a Gluttony Belt. Lots of life. You have Culling Strike against cursed enemies. So when you've cursed enemies, it acts a lot like a Thief's Torment. You get life and mana back when you hit people, But on the downside, you take a bunch of damage when you use a movement skill, and you are not allowed to have armor or energy shield. It's a very, very specific build wanting belt. There have been some pretty cool stuff built around it, but yeah, it is a little wild, but it has some very cool effects. Belt of the Deceiver gives you a lot of global physical damage. Gives you some defense in the form of, first of all, it has all resistances. You take less damage from critical strikes, and if you look down here, when it says nearby enemies are intimidated, that also causes them to take 10% increased attack damage. So it actually has quite a bit of damage stacked up there for a heavy belt, and a good amount of defense too. It's just overall a very strong belt without really a downside. It's just a good solid unique. Perandus Blazon is a cloth belt, so kind of a bad base, but it also is a quantity item. Gives you a bunch of fire resistance, gives you flask effect duration, and it also has the quantity is kind of awesome, and all attributes is always a welcome thing, particularly while leveling. And then Divination Distillate is the flask that we found so far. So during your flask effects, you get quantity, you get rarity, you get light radius, and you get resistances. It is just a thing that wants you to have this flask turned on, essentially. It doesn't do a whole lot because it is, like, in terms of recovery, it's a pretty low-level hybrid flask. So you're not really going to feel a whole lot from the 500 life. You're not really going to feel a whole lot from the less than 150 mana recovered, especially since it's over 5 seconds. It's not immediate, but it has some crazy effects. The rarity and quantity are pretty big. For jewels, here we go. So we found the last of the Conqueror's jewels, which is Conqueror's Longevity. Gives you a chance to avoid elemental ailments, gives you flask life recovery, and a dodge chance. So it's the last of the 3 Conqueror jewels from Act 8 quest rewards. Speaking of quest rewards, let's just take care of these. We've got all 3 of the survival jewels. You get these from Act 2 from completing the Hand of the Good Man quest. I forget what the actual quest is called, but you have to go into Fell Shrine, go down to level 2 of that crypt there, and return the hand. You get passive refund points, and you get one of these 3 jewels. We've gotten all 3 of them. So Survival Instincts gives dexterity and all resistances. Survival Secrets regens mana and gives you more elemental damage, and Survival Skills gives you more global physical damage and armor. So we've taken care of all 3 of those quest rewards. Rapid Expansion we found is the Ground Slam Threshold Jewel. We didn't get any other Threshold Jewels yet. Inertia gives you strength, and then it transforms in its radius. Dexterity gets transformed to strength as well. So it takes a lot of that dexterity, if you can find one that has a lot in the radius, and you can just stack up a bunch of strength. We got a Fertile Mind, which gives intelligence and does kind of the same thing that Inertia does, except it transforms dexterity instead of into strength. It transforms it into intelligence. So they're very similar. And they're pretty cool. And then I was trying to corrupt a jewel for the corrupted blood cannot be put on you implicit, and the first 2 that I corrupted both turned into unique jewels. So there's quite a few jewels that you have to acquire this way by corrupting some base jewels and just getting lucky. Fragility is a very strange and underpowered one. It's -1 to maximum endurance charges. Not great. And Ancient Waystones is a little bit cooler. Gives you less mana cost of totems that cast an aura. So cool jewel corruptions. And overall, this puts us at 173. And that is the Earthshatter champion level to maps. Well, yet another one. Now we have multiple characters at map level, which is very important for the guide or for the challenge. So, yeah, looking good. So now that a Earthshatter champion has made it firmly into maps and is going well, just grabbed a couple of the uniques that I found through the leveling process. I found a whole bunch that we had already found, so we're going to start seeing that more and more and more as we play, which is good. That means we're making good progress, but this is the rest of basically what I found while he was leveling, including a really cool new unique. So let's start here. Bronze Lith is a movement gem. It wants you to socket your movement gems in it. They get +2 level. You get more damage with them. You have more movement speed, and then you also have attack and cast speed if you've used a movement skill recently. Skullhead is a A lot of life, a lot of mana. It has all resistances, which is fairly rare for a unique item. But it also gives your minions like a bunch of tankiness, basically. They have block chance, they have armor, and they regenerate a bunch of life per second. On the flip side of making minions more tanky, Veil of the Night makes you way less tanky. It makes your elemental resistances 0. You do have 20% increased global defenses, and it reflects 1 to 100. I think it's, I'm guessing the scale is, yeah. So it reflects a bunch of lightning damage to attackers when you do block, but it makes your LE resist 0, so it's pretty garbage. The Baron is another minion helmet. It gives +2 to your minion gems. That gives minions more life. It adds a bunch of strength to your minions, and then it's basically a zombie-specific helmet. You can get a whole bunch of zombies out because you get +1 to your raised zombies per 500 strength, and as long as you have at least 1,000, they leech back life. Surge Binders are the gloves we've gotten so far. Increased LE damage per endurance charge, fizz damage per frenzy damage. I'm gonna start again. I didn't read any any of that correctly. It gives you elemental damage per frenzy charge. It gives you fizz damage per endurance charge. It gives you spell damage per power charge, and then you have a chance to steal charges from enemies when you hit them if the enemies have charges. There we go. That was much better. Great Old Ones Ward gives you spell block, and it's an attack-based shield. It wants you to be attacking, not so much a spellcaster shield. It gives you fizz damage to your attacks, gives you attack speed, and actually a pretty decent chunk of life too for a unique. Taproot is a dagger. It gives you a whole bunch of fizz damage. It's actually a pretty high-level dagger. Gives you a lot of fizz damage, gives you poison duration, and then you leech mana against poison enemies, and you leech life against maimed enemies, and you have a chance to both maim and poison on hit. Pretty interesting dagger. Winter Burial is the threshold jewel for Glacial Hammer, and we got an Anvarius, which is actually super cool. It's a very, very, very high rarity item. It kind of wrecks your LE resists, but it is an absurd amount of rarity on an item, so it's a very cool one to get. And the one that I'm most excited about is a new unique. This is Goblin Edge. So this unique is actually not specific to Ritual. This is a world drop that was introduced with patch 3.13. So this is our first look at one of the brand new uniques introduced in the latest patch. It is another high level. I think it's the same level as Taproot. Yeah. So it's a level 60 dagger. Has a lot of fizz damage. If you haven't gained the frenzy charge recently, you get a bunch of attack speed. If you haven't gained a power charge recently, you gain a bunch of crit chance. And then when it basically wants you to do Culling Strike. It gives you more duration to your frenzy and power charges when you do perform a Culling Strike, and you gain a bunch of life and mana when you do Culling Strike. So pretty cool to get that, and we're inching closer to 200 uniques, and that was another big stack for as we leveled this guy. Here we go. This could be huge. A couple things. First of all, finally got a gold rim. This actually dropped. I've been looking for a gold rim forever for leveling characters. This actually dropped from a unique incubator in this map, so that was kind of cool. And found a unique strongbox, and this could be a huge one. Contained items have an additional socket, and contained items are fully linked. So yeah, I mean, as long as we survive this could be absolutely massive. So let's hope we don't die, I guess. Let's get the stuff out. Well, that was more than a little underwhelming considering nothing even showed up out of it, so nice. Okay, this is the first Conqueror fight with the champion. I'm a little nervous. This is my first Conqueror fight that I think I've ever done as a melee, so I'm very nervous. That's what I was worried about right there. Alright. It was a little awkward, but not terrible. so I'll take it. Look at this. You cannot tell me this is not the most singular, satisfying thing to see in all of Path of Exile right now. This is beautiful. All right, it's time for what I believe is the third one of these that I've done. This will be the first one on this character, but the third one of these that we've done. All right, down to one. Alrighty. Really not that bad. Just one of those things that feels a lot worse than it is while you're in the middle of it. 3 done now? Yep, three trees we have points in. So we now have 10% extra Legion chance in Glenage Cairns. We've got 10% additional Smuggler's Cache chance in Lyra Arthane. And we've got basically just more Sulfite. More Sulfite and potentially double Sulfite in Proxima. Now this is the kind of safe house stash I'm talking about. Pretty sure maybe 4 out of the 6 of those are new. Maybe 4 out of the 6. Might be 2 or 3, but I think like maybe 4 out of the 6 of those are new. Not bad. All right, this will be the second Maven's invitation. The character's starting to feel pretty strong. Hit 83. I'm just shy of 5k life, and the next couple nodes, the next bunch of nodes, are going to take me way past that. Here. It's pretty much all health for a while we work on the gear itself. But I do have a pair of spike gloves, which is good. Couple two-tone, but I have a bunch of copies of two-tone boots, the Astro plates. And finally swapped out the Sinvictas for a Kurui chopper, which I probably should have done a while ago. I don't know why I looked at the tooltip, but the tooltip throws you off. But ooh, that was scary. Did I do it? I did it. Yeah, you know what? I think I am gonna go back on this a little bit and do the Abyss one, just because the performance has been so bad for Delirium that I'm worried that I'm just not gonna be able to run him, and I'm not gonna get anything out of it. So yeah. Okay, so I'm at the end of basically a little mapping session. I was cleaning out the tab and realized that I had collected quite a few more uniques than I thought. Ritual is just kind of pumping them out. I can get usually on average like 1 to 2 per map just from Ritual alone, and it's been kind of crazy progress. So I figured since I had a bunch, let's do another unique roundup. So we're just going to go through these. These are all new. There were a couple other duplicates that I've already put in the second unique tab, but these are all of the new ones. So Nero's Harp is a Harbinger bow, has a lot of cold damage and attack speed, and then when you freeze enemies, you have a chance to create chilled ground, and when you shatter an enemy, you create consecrated ground. So it plays a lot around with obviously the ground effects that you can make at a distance. Voltaxic Rift is a really cool one. Has a lot, obviously lightning damage is pretty much always a huge range, but it has a lot of added lightning damage, and then it converts part of that damage to chaos and allows your chaos damage to shock. When you shock enemies, it shocks as though dealing 300% more damage, and then your shocks can increase damage taken by up to a maximum of 100%. So kind of a crazy chaos damage conversion bow. Really cool item. Used to be extraordinarily powerful, if I'm remembering the correct bow. But yeah, very, very, very cool item. We got another unique map, Maelstrom of Chaos. It's basically a copy of the Atoll map with a tougher boss. Mobs deal extra fizz damage as lightning. They are immune to randomly chosen elemental ailments or stuns. And then when monsters hit you in melee range, they apply random hexes on hit, and then they reflect hexes to you. So you don't want to be running around trying to curse stuff in this map. It's not going to go well. Hair Trigger is a jewel, increases your trap damage, and increases the area of effect for those traps to trigger. Pretty basic, pretty cool, and pretty common. Joffrey's Sanctuary is very cool item. Has Zealot's Oath, and it gives you maximum energy shield per 5 strength. It's a strength stacking body armor that pumps your energy shield very, very high. It has all resistances, has pretty decent armor and energy shield, and some max life. So generically good item that has a very, very cool effect that's a build around for sure. Jaws of Agony is a shield. It grants a very high level bear trap skill on its own. So obviously whatever you put in there will, like for support links, can support the bear trap. Gives you even more trap damage, more global fizz damage, and then you have a chance to gain a power charge, not when your trap is triggered, but when you throw it. So very cool shield, very heavily focused on one specific thing. Obviously you can see even the art of the shield is just a gigantic bear trap. Immortal Flesh, we got a bunch of belts you can see. Immortal Flesh has a ton of life, a lot of regen. It does actually remove, it gives you minus to all elemental resistances. You take less fizz damage from attack hits, but then while you're not ignited, frozen, or shocked, you also have a massively increased amount of armor. So pretty specific. It's got a lot of regen, but if you can make up the elemental resistances, it's kind of cool. Meganord's Girdle, huge amount of strength. It's a very low level belt, so for the amount of strength it provides, and even things like the fizz damage, the 10% increased max life, all that pretty high for a low level belt, but it's a pretty basic one. Soul Thirst gives you a lot of life, gives you all resistances, you get mana recovery, but the big thing is on the bottom, you get Soul Eater during flask effects, and then when you use a flask, you lose the souls that you gained from Soul Eater. So it wants you to be using one flask at a time, and then flasks with very long durations if possible, but it also reduces your flask effect duration. So very specific build around, but you can get Soul Eater out of this belt. And Soul Tether is something I'm super excited about for this character eventually. It gives you 6% of your maximum life as extra maximum energy shield, then gives you Immortal Ambition, which is your energy shield starts at 0. You cannot recharge or regenerate it. You lose 5% of it a second, but your life leech effects recover energy shield if you're on full life, and they're not removed at full life. So basically, it takes your life leech and gives you a ton of additional life leech on top of it that doesn't get removed at full life. So very, very good for recovery. Very strong for this character. Looking for a way to get it into the build as soon as possible. Moku's Embrace, Ruby Ring, a lot of fire damage, a lot of cold resistance, and then you basically do you get a lot of benefits if you are ignited. So yeah, they want you to be setting yourself on fire, but for real, not just an MTX. Ungil's Harmony is an amulet. There's a lot of mana, a lot of life for like a leveling amulet. Your critical strikes do not deal extra damage, but it has massive crit strike chance. So this is very specific to builds that are using elemental overloads, and it is huge for it because it's going to make you crit a ton more often. Widowmaker, dagger, like mid-leveling type thing. Lots of crit chance, decent crit multi, and then against enemies on full life, you have 100% increased crit chance. And when you do crit, you get 1% of the attack damage leached back to you as life. Very cool weapon. We have multiple of those already, so you can dual wield those if we wanted to. Witchfire Brew I'm very excited about. That is a Vortex unique if I've seen one. Probably end up using that on our Vortex Cultist. It gives you a Despair Curse Aura during the Flask effect, and already gives you, it's the full Stibnite Flask, plus just a bunch of damage over time, and the Despair Aura. So it's a pretty cool flask, very, very powerful. I'm very glad to have found it. Forbidden Taste is a quartz flask, gives you phasing. You recover almost all of your life on use, but then while the flask effect is going, you take 8% of your max life as chaos damage. So it's a lot of stuff to overcome, but basically heals you to full every single time. Winter's Burial? It's not even Burial. It's Winter's Bounty. I can't talk. This is the threshold for Cold Snap. So kind of crazy. You don't actually, like, I've never found a reason to use it. It does give some extra cold damage, but yeah, it's threshold for Cold Snap. But as the Vortex guy, I've never found a reason to use it. Stone of Lazawar, Gives you big spell block chance, more cast speed, and more mana. So it doesn't have a whole lot of effects on it, but they're pretty powerful. And then Brawn is the final one we found, which gives you percentage increased to all of your stats. Basically, just ramps your attributes up very much higher. And with all of that, there's a reason I turned this thing off. Check out the milestone we're at now. Boom. We hit 200 uniques. We are up to 201, over 200, on our way really well. I'm very, very happy with the progress. This league has been a blast, and I'm excited to keep it going. So look at some of this stuff. Are we over 20%? Oh, we're way over 20 in most of the weapon categories, which is very cool. We got 20% of the jewels, which is a lot. Look at all the jewels we got already. So yeah, very exciting stuff. And I've been filling out the Atlas a bit, doing all the lower tier maps, getting them complete, just making sure this character is all right as I start to push into higher tiered stuff. So yeah, making really good progress. Really proud of being over 200. All right, and I think that's a good place to stop for episode 4. It's a little bit longer. We had several of the kind of unique roundups where I would be collecting a whole bunch of them at once and then going over them. So I think there were like 3 of those or so in the episode. So it's actually coming up on about 40 minutes. But like I've said before, that'll probably slow down as we start to see more and more uniques that we already have. But regardless, making really good progress. Very happy with where we are so far. I'm actually using my div card turn-in character to film this ending because I didn't want to give any spoilers for some of the character progression we've had. It's been very exciting. There have been a few patches that have fixed minor like bugs and issues and crashes, some of which I have experienced several times. So looking good on the future stability front. And yeah, we're just going to keep pushing. I'm catching up slowly on the footage. There was such a huge backlog from the first week or so with how much we were streaming and playing and recording that finally starting to catch up on that. So yeah, it's going really well. I'm very happy with the progress, and you'll continue to see that in future episodes. So yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you found this helpful or enjoyable, go ahead and like the YouTube channel, or you can catch some of this progress live if you follow me on Twitch. And we're getting closer to about 1,000 subscribers on Twitch, which is pretty dang exciting. So thank you again for watching. I have been Shaq Central, and I will catch you guys in the next one.